10 spine-chilling encounters revealed, terrifying tales from the haunted Appalachian Mountains. Lena thought she left the chaos of city life behind when she moved back to Pine Hollow with her 2 kids, but the silence here was more unnerving than the screams of traffic. Shadows loomed larger beneath the swooping branches as dusk fell, whispering dark secrets from a time long past. 10 spine-chilling encounters, the locals murmured, standing too close in the grocery store, their eyes glinting with a mix of nostalgia and fear. They eyed her with suspicion, as if she had crossed a boundary she didn't know existed. Pine Hollow was a place that should be left undisturbed, they said. A place that had forgotten her family. A howl ripped through the air one night, chilling Lena to her very bones. She pressed her palms against the window, breath fogging the glass as she peered into the suffocating darkness outside. That night, the whispers crept into her dreams, unraveling like threads of a fraying tapestry. "Mommy! Can we go play with him again?" Alex chirped excitedly, while Emma tugged at her sleeve, eyes wide with wonder. The friend they had found, hidden deep in the woods, could only mean trouble. It was all Lena could hear over the creaks and groans of the house. So many voices, too many echoes of laughter that felt foreign in her bones. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Each night, the shadows grew darker. Strange figures danced just out of reach, flickering at the corners of her vision. It was disorienting. Lena felt trapped between familiarity and fear. She flipped through old family pictures, ghosts of a past she wanted to ignore, buried under dust and time. And then there was that chipped newspaper clipping, "Disappearance in Pine Hollow, 4 children vanish without a trace." One name screamed at her from the page: Clara. Her throat tightened. Clara had been her aunt, lost to the woods where her children now played. The townsfolk grew more hostile. "Leave the past where it belongs," they hiss as Lena dug deeper, trying to find answers. Panic flickered through her. The more she learned, the more isolating it felt. Lena had to know. The relentless feeling of dread now settled over her like thick fog. Goosebumps rose on her arms when Alex and Emma didn't return from their playtime. It felt like hours before they strolled back, coated in dirt and giggles, the essence of mischief swirling around them. "We found a really cool place," they squealed, sharing secrets with grins that sent shivers up Lena's spine. But then the atmosphere shifted. The air grew heavy. The faint whisper of a child's laughter echoed, twisting into something sinister. Having watched her kids' vibrant spirits dim with every step into the woods, Lena's heart raced. It was time to confront both the shadows of her childhood and the nightmares of their present. Would the hidden truths set her free? Or do what her lineage had always done best: consume? As night fell, she felt the pull of the forest, its trees straining with a hunger that felt personal. Gripping the door handle, pulse racing, she stepped out into the dark, heart pounding. What would she find beyond those ominous trees? The woods swallowed Lena as soon as she stepped outside, the darkness wrapping around her like an unfurling vine. Each step forward sent tremors of unease crawling up her spine. The chirping of crickets fell silent, replaced by a low, haunting whisper that seemed to slither through the trees. "Stay away," it warned, but she couldn't turn back now. Alex and Emma were somewhere in the shadows, secrets painting their innocent faces. "Mommy, come quick." Emma's voice rang out, bright yet edged with an undercurrent of urgency. Lena felt her heart lurch. Her daughter had ventured deeper into the forest, where the trees tangled together like skeletal fingers. She pushed forward, branches snagging at her clothes and hair, the forest a living thing that seemed to pulse with anticipation. As she rounded a gnarled oak, a clearing opened before her, bathed in a ghostly glow that didn't flicker or dance. Light emerged from an ancient, moss-covered well at the center. Its stony edges were slick with moisture, gleaming ominously like the eyes of a predator. It was then, from the shadows, she saw them, Alex and Emma, standing side by side, entranced by an unseen presence. They looked so small, so lost among the towering trees. "Step back," she called, her voice trembling. "Get away from there." But they didn't move. Instead, something shimmered in the air around them, an echo of laughter, children's laughter. It wrapped around Lena like a noose. She stumbled forward, trying to reach her kids, the ground suddenly rugged beneath her feet. "Mommy! Look!" Alex shouted, his eyes wide with glee. "He showed us the secret." Her heart raced. What secret? Panic dripped from her words like poison. "We need to leave now." "Stay," the voice from the well murmured, silky and malevolent. "Join us." Lena froze. The air grew thick and suffocating, filled with incoherent whispers that tantalized her. They beckoned her, promising answers, offering peace. Clarity washed over her mind, something she hadn't realized she craved. The tales, the rumors, Clara. She needed to know how her aunt had vanished, what was hidden just beneath the surface of Pine Hollow's silence. "No!" Lena shouted, a sudden ferocity erupting from her gut. "You will not take them." In an explosion of movement, she lunged for her children, grasped their thin wrists, and pulled them away from the well's edge. The laughter cracked and became a shriek of anger, echoing through the trees. The branches twisted like skeletal hands reaching for them, and the once enchanted atmosphere turned sour. "Run!" she screamed, and they sprinted back, the path obscured by the shadows that swallowed her every step. The trees seemed to shift, closing in around them, expanding and contracting like a great beast. Behind them, the voice roared, echoing through the woods. It was both familiar and terrifying, a call to something deep within Lena's own bloodline. They burst through the threshold of trees into the light of the moonlit yard, breathing hard. But Lena dared not look back. She pulled her kids to the safety of the house but felt something dark lingering just beyond her vision, waiting, watching. "What was that?" Emma asked, her voice trembling. I don't know," Lena whispered, heart thudding violently in her chest. But as she glanced over her shoulder, she sensed a presence watching from the tree, an entity etched into the darkness, grinning with the knowledge of secrets untold. As the wind howled, its cold breath carrying whispered promises, she backed away. She had saved her children for now, but how long could she keep that darkness at bay? The question hung in the air, promising more to come, lurking just past the next bend of the woods. Would she be able to protect them from the shadows? Or would those secrets finally claim them all? The night seemed to breathe heavily around Lena as she slammed the door shut behind her. The walls of the house pulsated with unsettling silence, a stark contrast to the drumming of her heart. She held her children close, still feeling the weight of the forest's dread hanging over them like a thick fog. She scanned the dimly lit living room, as shadows danced along the edges of the walls, lingering just long enough to send chills skittering down her spine. "Mommy, I'm scared," Emma whispered, her small hands wrapping tightly around Lena's arm. "Me too," Alex added, his voice shaking. "What was that thing?" Lena swallowed hard, desperate to shield her kids from the unknown. "It's gone now," she lied, forcing a smile for their sake. But as she glanced out the window, the trees loomed ominously close, their branches like claws groping towards the house, and her stomach churned at the thought of what lurked in the forest. Emma pointed. "Look!" Lena turned, and her breath hitched. Out in the darkness, that same dark presence she felt before was not gone at all. It stood at the edge of the tree, the outline of a figure that rippled and shifted like smoke. It felt like those trees had grown even darker, casting shadows that dripped like ink. "Get back!" Lena shouted, pulling her kids away from the window. They stumbled backward, eyes wide, hearts racing. In the ensuing silence, Lena strained to hear any sound that might reassure her, but all she found was the chilling melody of the wind whispering outside. A sudden banging noise from the back door shook her from her thoughts. The sound was hollow, reverberating through the empty house. Lena grabbed the kitchen knife from the counter, its coldness grounding her urgency. "Stay here," she commanded, her voice firm, though terror clawed at her throat. Lena approached the kitchen door cautiously, each step echoing ominously in the oppressive stillness. The banging continued, more frantic now, thud, thud, thud. What if it was the thing from the woods? What if it wanted to take her children again? Just as she reached for the doorknob, a chill swept over her, darker than night. The air thickened, a blanket of dread wrapping around her. She hesitated, listening intently. A low voice cried out, this time clearer, deeper, ripping through the silence. "Let me in, Lena, I can help you." The name hit her like a lightning bolt, sending her heart racing. Clara. The familial echoes from her past screamed through her mind. How had the connection to this dark entity come alive? "Leave us alone," Lena shouted, pressing her back against the door, desperate to keep whatever was outside at bay. But the voice only laughed. The sound twisted, mocking an echo of her children mixed with something sinister. "You can't protect them, they belong to me." Rage ignited within Lena. "No. I want to let you take them." In a moment of defiance, she flung the door open, the night air striking her like a physical blow. Empty darkness met her gaze. Then, a figure emerged, stepping just beyond the threshold, its form glitching like a broken film reel. Alex and Emma clung to her legs, eyes wide with fear, but Lena couldn't look away. It was Clara's face, but twisted and smiling cruelly. "You need to come with me, Lena. There are things you don't understand." A surge of adrenaline rushed through her. "Get away from my family." She screamed, but the voice felt oddly familiar, wrapping around her like a warm embrace. The kid squeezed tighter at her side, sensing the danger. "Mommy. What is happening?" Lena hesitated, staring into the depths of Clara's eyes that glowed eerily. She had to act. But terror froze her, paralyzing her with indecision. In that suspended moment, the shadows thickened, drawing closer, insatiable. Was it too late to escape the grim secrets intertwined with her blood? As she took one step back, ready to slam the door shut again, a shrill chorus of laughter erupted from within the woods, echoing through the night air. The sinister laughter reverberated against her ears, chilling her to the bone. Would she be strong enough to face what lay ahead? Or was she about to step into a darkness from which there might be no return? The darkness loomed heavy, pressing down on Lena like an unwanted weight. The familiar laughter twisted through her mind, mixing memories with dread. "I won't let you take them," she whispered fiercely, but her voice barely broke the suffocating air around her. Outside, the entity stood unmoving. The air felt electric, charged with an unseen force, a palpable tension like the stillness before a storm. Every instinct screamed at her to retreat, to hide within the flimsy walls of her home where shadows shouldn't reach. Yet, the figure of Clara, warped and grotesque, beckoned with an eerie allure. "Come with me, Lena," she said again, the name rolling off her tongue like honey laced with poison. "You need to understand your true self. They belong with us." Lena squeezed her children tighter, anchoring their bodies to hers, willing them to trust her. "No," she shouted, her voice cutting through the night. "We want to go anywhere with you." For a moment, the trees whispered back, and in the rustling leaves, Lena could swear she heard more voices, a cacophony of past regrets and lost souls, inviting her into despair. The laughter continued, echoes bouncing off the walls of her mind, taunting her, laughing at her defiance. "Mommy, I'm scared," Emma trembled, her small fingers digging into Lena's arm, seeking solace. "Just hold on to me," Lena replied, her heart pounding like a war drum. She could feel the floor pulse beneath her feet, as if the very foundation of the house throbbed with the sinister rhythm of the forest's desires. With trembling hands, Lena took another step back, almost falling into darkness. From the corner of her eye, the doorframe warped and twisted like a passage into another realm. "Don't let it win," she thought, feeling the primal need to protect her children more fiercely than ever before. Suddenly, a shriek cut through the laughter, a voice distinctly Alex's, "Mom! Look out!" With a lurch, Lena turned just as shadows slithered past her, lunging towards the children. She plunged forward, the knife clutched in her hand, but the air thickened. It was as if mud pulled her down, dragging her thoughts away. "Save us!" Emma cried, clenching her eyes shut. Lena shoved them behind her, a fierce pit of terror bubbling inside. The form at the door shimmered, losing its coherent shape, splitting and merging with the inky blackness around it. "They're mine," it hissed, voices melting together in a horrid choir. In a desperate leap, Lena swung the knife. The blade sliced through the cold air, but met only emptiness. The figure recoiled slightly, the faintest remnants of Clara flickering in its essence before it surged back, fierce and unyielding. "Mother," the voice called, now tinged with urgency and something almost playful. "Let them come, let them be free, just give in." Lena's resolve faltered for a heartbeat, her vision clouded. There, at the edge of her awareness, visions of her childhood danced, the warmth of family, the safety of home, a life untouched by shadow. But she pushed it aside, gritting her teeth. "I want to let you take them. You're not Clara. You're something terrible." But the tree line rustled again with energy, portentous and heavy. One branch broke away, snapping like a bone, echoing loud enough to drown her protest. Loosening her grip on the knife, her heart thudded with panic. Time ticked on, every second elongating, stretching into a nightmare realm where reality twisted. "What do you want from us?" She shouted into the void, desperation oozing from her voice, but there was only the taunting laughter, and then silence. A silence that swelled into something worse than, as if in response, the ground beneath them trembled. The house shivered with a somber groan, and Lena's vision blurred. Behind her, she felt the warmth of her children fading, glowing dimly as the shadows tightened their grip. Just as she registered the flickering light, their forms began to shift. They hunched over as if something was pulling at them from inside, something far more sinister than the forest outside. "No! No!" Lena shrieked, lunging toward them. Feeling the pull of darkness threatening to swallow her whole. Would she have the strength to fight back, or would she succumb to a family curse, her children lost in the throes of terror? A cracking noise echoed in her ears, splintering the air, and then, silence again fell heavy upon them, leaving her heart pounding with lethal dread. What if their faces faded forever into the abyss? As the shadows growled and the laughter faded, Lena's next screams formed a partnership with the encroaching void, dimming the glow that was left of her family. And in that dark breath, she realized that whatever was happening was just beginning. What fate awaited them in the clutches of darkness? Would they survive, or had she opened a door that could never be closed? Lena's scream echoed off the walls of the home, blending with the whispers of the shadows that writhed and twisted, crawling inexorably closer. The air felt thick, more like soup than atmosphere, weighing her down with dread. Each beat of her heart echoed louder against the silence that had replaced the laughter. Suddenly, the warmth around her began to cool, the children beginning to feel like fragile wisps of her past. Panic surged through her veins like ice, and she turned, fully believing she would see them swirling into the dark. But instead, they remained, faces twisted in concentration and fear, locked in a trance, eyes dimmed as if the very essence of their being was being siphoned away. "Emma! Alex!" she cried, reaching for them, feeling the air grow choked with smoke and shadows. It engulfed her, biting at her skin like a swarm of angry bees. She fought against it, her instincts screaming, the knife slipping from her fingers and thudding uselessly to the ground. "Mom!" Emma gasped, her voice like a thread being pulled tight, it could snap at any moment. "I don't want to go. It hurts. Hold on to me. Focus on my voice." Lena urged, but her voice felt muted under the suffocating weight of the entity lurking beyond. Clara's silhouette hovered just outside the doorway, watching, predicting Lena's every move. "You can't protect them forever, Lena," she whispered, her voice slithering through like a serpent seeking warmth. I can help you help them. All you have to do is let go. Lena shook her head violently, rocking back and forth, desperation clawing at her. You're not my sister. You can't be. She's gone. But the laughter returned, a low, mocking chuckle rippling through the air, and with it came a rush of memories twisted into nightmares. A childhood spent in the woods, endless games of hide and seek, shadowy figures lurking just beyond the trees. Fear knew her name. The floor trembled again, only this time it felt like a heartbeat, echoing her fright. She dropped to her knees, gripping Emma's cold hands, steadying herself, planting her feet against the ground as if it might offer resistance. Stay with me. Stay. Lena shouted, pulling her children into a tighter embrace. Their warmth flickered like a dying ember as they wavered between reality and the insidious call of darkness. I can help you, Lena, the entity cooed, its form bending to the shape of memories, reshaping into her lost sister's visage, eyes glistening with sin. Stop. You're not real. She howled, her voice breaking apart like shattered glass. Then, the shadows lunged. Lena felt a sharp pull, as if the darkness was trying to yank her children away. But she held tight, centering herself on their warmth. She wished for strength, for something, anything to push it back. The knife lay forgotten on the floor, glistening with an ethereal glow that pulsed rhythmically. Mom, help! Alex gasped, a flicker of light breaking through the dark cocoon that surrounded him. In that moment, something primal tugged deep within Lena, an instinct thrusting her into action. She lunged toward the knife just as a storm of whispers crescendoed into a monstrous roar. The shadows lashed out, tendrils snaking toward her, grasping, clawing. No! She cried, jerking the knife up. The metal sparkled against the darkness, reflecting her will, her untamed fear. But was she ready to fight, or would the void swallow her whole? The darkness writhed, angered by her defiance. With a roar, it surged forward, and Lena felt her heart pound furiously in rhythm with the chaos. Let them go! She screamed, thrusting the knife forward, feeling the force of her own soul behind it. The entity recoiled, the laugh fading into screams that echoed around her in every direction. It was a deafening sound, horrific and familiar, holding her memories hostage. And then silence. For a fleeting moment, the quiet was peaceful, but it didn't last. Slowly, the floor began to shake again, the lights flickered, and Lena's breath hitched in her throat. Do you really think that was enough? The shadows converged once more, but this time, all eyes were on her. What was left to do? As her children appeared to dissolve into shadows, Lena felt time trickle away, her heart racing with terror. Would she endure the darkness surrounding her family? Or would the memories become the very chains that dragged them into an inescapable nightmare? The air thickened again with an electric hum, and one thought pierced through the chaos: this fight was far from over. What had she awakened? What horrors would emerge next? Lena's breath quickened, the fleeting silence fraying her nerves. The shadows stretched and twisted, and with each passing second, they seemed to thicken, forming shapes that whispered of lost souls. Her children trembled beside her, the warmth they once had now just a flicker, rapidly fading into the darkness. Stick together! She shouted, but the words felt weak, drowning in the weighted gloom. The knife felt oddly heavy in her grip, pulsating with some energy beyond her understanding, yet it was the only thing that tethered her to reality. From the edge of the shadows, Clara's laughter pierced the silence, a sharp, gleeful note that dripped with malice. They want to be free, Lena. You're holding on to them too tightly. Let them go, and I'll show you what real freedom feels like. Get away from them. Lena screamed, desperation forcing her body to its limits. The shadows crawled closer, as if they had joined forces to obscure her vision, her thoughts, all sense of self. Emma looked up, her eyes wide, teeming with innocence but overshadowed by fear. Mom, I don't want to hurt, she whispered, trembling. Alex whimpered, inching towards Clara's direction, drawn to her like moths to a flame. No. Don't let go. Don't listen. Lena's voice cracked, desperation tightening around her throat like a noose. She could feel the shadows thickening, wrapping around her children's ankles, grasping, pulling. With a fierce growl, Lena swung the knife, cutting through the air, the blade slicing through the shadows with a hiss. Light sparked where it touched, illuminating brief moments in the dark. For a heartbeat, the essence of her children returned, their faces brightening, like the sun pushing back the twilight. But Clara only laughed, a sound that echoed and twisted, saturating the very air with dread. How long can you hold on, sister? You were always so weak. The shadows surged forward again, a tidal wave of despair. They crashed over Lena, chilling her to the bone, her own mind whispering doubts she had long buried: fear of loss, fear of failure, fear of the truth. Mom, please. Don't leave us. Emma cried, pulling at Lena's legs, her grip slipping like wet sand. Lena's heart raced. She had to do something, anything. She felt a surge of anger ignite within her. Get away from them. She lunged forward again, feeling the knife's metal vibrate with an ancient energy, a force she couldn't comprehend but desperately wanted in that moment. Enough. She shouted, thrusting the blade deep into the ground before her, a desperate plea for some kind of salvation. The floor beneath her lit up, the pulse of her emotions intertwining with the dark energy surrounding them, and then everything shattered. Light exploded from the ground, blinding and fierce, casting shadows away from her children. The darkness writhed, a frantic creature retreating from the illumination, but Clara remained an ominous shadow among the chaos. Do you think you can banish me that easily? Clara screeched, her silhouette strobing as if caught in a kaleidoscope of anguish. I am not just shades of your past, I am the sum of all your fears. The lights flickered, the ground shaking as if the house itself trembled in fear. Lena stood firm, sweat trickling down her face. You won't take them. I'll fight to the last breath. With a deep, primal roar, she lunged one last time, the knife shimmering. She could feel it, a connection to something much larger than her own terror. The shadows writhed, the darkness shrieked, as if caught in a storm of light and shadow, but as the brilliance engulfed them, a piercing shriek echoed in the air, ripping through her resolve. What if it's not me you're fighting? A whisper gripped her heart, chilling her to the core. As the shadows swirled, detaching from reality, Lena glimpsed faces within them, faces of those she thought lost. Her own mother, her father, and even Clara's true self, eyes pleading for release. Let go, they whispered, echoing through her mind. Let go. The walls began to shift, reality bending under the weight of the decision hanging in the air. Would she release her children into a fate unknown? Would she let go of everything she ever loved or fight the darkness consuming them? The knife began to glow even brighter, the whispers growing louder, and Lena felt the crushing weight of choice pressing down on her chest. What would she choose? The safety of memories or the unknown freedom of truth? In that moment, she realized this was only the beginning. What would rise next from the depths? Lena's world spun like a wild carousel, the light from the knife twisting thoughts and fears, illuminating the battlefield between love and darkness. She felt the ground quaking, as if the very earth beneath her was alive, writhing in panic. A sudden sense of urgency consumed her. The faces within the shadows clung to her awareness, each whisper twisting knots in her stomach. Let go, they implored. No. I won't. Lena felt a surge of defiance. She wasn't about to release her children into the void. The knife pulsed against her palm, mirroring the frantic beat of her heart. She had to decide, every second counted. The shadows receded slightly, sensing her struggle, but Clara's laughter rang out, sharp as glass. Foolish girl. You think you can fight what you can't even see? Clara stepped closer, her form flickering, the darkness pooling around her like a living shroud. You're losing them, Lena. Your love ties them to you, but it's your fear that chains them to this realm. For a moment, panic slammed into Lena's chest. Echoes of doubt surged through her. What if Clara was right? The shadows whispered lies that danced at the edges of her sanity, teasing fragments of truth. Yet each breath she took felt like fuel for her light, a flicker against the relentless dark. "Mom!" Emma's voice rang out, small but crackling with urgency. "Please don't let her take us. We want you." The raw emotion in her daughter's plea struck a chord deep within Lena. "No!" Lena shouted, sharp and fierce. She couldn't afford to falter now. The knife blazed brighter, illuminating the chaos around her, a beacon in a world drowning in fear. With a purposeful thrust, she plunged the blade into the earth again, willing the light to fracture the darkness. It surged outwards like a tidal wave, pushing the shadows back once more. The faces of her family flickered and shimmered, almost tangible in the glowing aura. They reached towards her, mouths forming silent words, but comprehension was lost in the suffocating grip of Clara's laughter. "Do you think this will work?" Clara taunted, her form morphing, splattering the light with patches of shadowy venom. "I am the darkness of your past, and you cannot escape me." The ground trembled as if it had a mind of its own, shaking under the intensity of their struggle. The walls themselves groaned, bending and warping, reflecting Lena's inner turmoil. In this horrid dance of light and dark, a sliver of doubt snaked into her heart. What if Clara held the key to their salvation? To embrace the tears and pain instead of fighting to erase them? Lena. There was urgency in Alex's voice now, small but powerful, anchoring her thoughts. "We don't want to go. Please." The desperation pooled inside her, a raging storm of love and fear. "I want to let you go," she screamed, feeling the knife vibrate, pushing back against the dark tide. More whispers encroached, rose, surged around her. "You can't hold them forever." Then, an idea flickered. What if instead of fighting the shadows, she embraced them? What if the only way forward was to face her worst fears? The knife was her strength, but perhaps in surrendering the need to control everything, she could truly save them. With her heart pounding, Lena closed her eyes, allowing herself to feel the weight of her memories, the laughter, the pain. The shadows recoiled slightly, their grip loosening. She opened her eyes, purpose crystallizing in her mind. "Clara!" she called, steadying her voice against the madness. "I will set them free." The laughter faltered, uncertainty rippling through Clara's form. "What?" she hissed, a critical edge to her tone. "Release them to their truth," Lena said, the any possible victory rolling off her tongue. "And allow me to free them from you." The ground shook with fury, their shadows convulsing in response. A frigid wave of silence wrapped around her like a cloak. Lena held steady, determination flooding her veins. If she was going to fall, it would be onward, not backward. As the shadows lunged again, Lena raised the knife high, feeling the soft warmth of her children's hands in the swirling darkness. The final choice loomed like an executioner's axe. Would she shatter the bonds forever, or would Clara seize this moment to strike? Somewhere within the storm, the knife pulsed like a heartbeat, and for an instant, everything hung in the balance. What would emerge from the heart of this duel? Would Lena's choice be salvation or surrender? The darkness writhed, preparing for a new storm, as shadows whispered promises of what lay ahead. A flicker of fear danced across Lena's mind, but she pushed it away. The knife gleamed with a fierce glow, a weapon forged not only of steel but of her love. With every inch the shadows advanced, Lena stepped forward, refusing to be swallowed by the dark. "Leave us," she commanded, voice trembling but loud. Each word echoed in the gloom, stirring the air thick with dread. The laughter that had once filled the void was gone now, replaced by a silence so heavy it threatened to crush her spirit. Yet the shadows did not retreat. Instead, they surged and converged, a storm growing dark and symphonic. Clara's figure twisted, becoming a shapeless mass, a nightmare made manifest. "Fool! You think mere words can protect you?" Clara spat, her voice a poison that seeped into Lena's heart. Lena's grip on the knife tightened. She had lost so much already, she wasn't willing to lose her children too. The cold sweat dripping down her back sent her pulse racing. You don't control me. I choose my path, and I will fight for them. Fight or surrender, it's all the same to me, Clara taunted, her tones weaving through the shadows like a serpent. You can embrace your grief and join us, or you can stand alone and watch as they slip away. Suddenly, a pain tore through Lena's chest, sharp as crystalline glass. The memory of her children sparked fierce flashes of joy and sorrow. They flickered like visions against the encroaching darkness. Emma's face, bright with laughter. Alex's hands, warm and small, tugging at her heart for protection. Mom! The echoes of their voices surrounded her. No! She shouted into the void, fighting her own despair. Energy coursed through her, the knife warming against her palm. I will not let the shadows claim you. Raising the blade high again, she plunged it into the ground with all her might, cursing the dark. Light erupted, flooding the space, igniting the shadows like a lit fuse. For a moment, it felt as if the chaos could split apart, making space for them to breathe. But it wasn't enough. Clara's laughter fractured the air, returning like a vengeance. Your light fades. You can't chase away the inevitable. Lena felt her heart racing, fear pooling in her stomach. Desperation fought against the light in her eyes. She could feel the embrace of darkness pulling at her, its icy fingers clawed at her soul. Suddenly, a whisper emerged through the din, face us or lose them forever. A decision loomed over her, heavy and foreboding. What if she stood not in defiance, but in reconciliation? What if she brought forth the memories of sorrow, understanding the depths of loss rather than running from them? With a steadying breath, she closed her eyes. The warmth of her children's love came rushing in, golden and familiar. I remember you, she began quietly. I will carry you with me. The shadows writhed at her confession. The air vibrated with tension. Lena could feel Clara's presence shifting, transitioning from brash to wary. Stop this madness. Clara's voice turned shrill, the darkness quaking in pulse. They belong to me. No, Lena said fiercely, opening her eyes wide. They belong to love, and love never dies. Fueled by conviction, she thrust the knife into the earth once more, channeling every shred of memory, laughter, tears, warmth. The light exploded outward, carving through the dark veils, illuminating the otherworldly faces all around her. But Clara wasn't finished. With a guttural scream that pierced the air, the shadows surged back, spiraling wildly, wrapping themselves around Lena like snakes of despair. The boundaries of light thinned, flickering like a flame in the wind. Your love isn't strong enough. Clara shrieked, the walls around them shaking as if the very world had joined her defiance. Lena's heart raced, fear clawing at her chest, threatening to engulf them all. She could feel the shadows trying to distort her love, twisting it against her will. No. I will face you, Clara. I won't turn away from my grief, or my love. But what would happen next? Would her embrace of both darkness and light forge a new path, or would the storm consume everything she held dear? As shadows leaped closer, Lena steadied herself, face to face with her deepest fears. In that harrowing moment, as the darkness grew thick around her, she realized the true battle was about to unfold. Would she emerge whole, or become yet another lost soul wandering the abyss? The shadows churned, dark and furious, swirling like tempestuous waves crashing against the shore of her resolve. Lena felt the cold tendrils wrap around her arms, pulling her deeper into the murky depths of despair. She clenched her fists tighter around the knife, the blade digging into her palms, reminding her of the price of this battle. Your feeble love cannot keep them safe. Clara's voice rose, echoing off the walls of this nightmare, each word laced with venom. You can either join us in eternal sorrow, or fade away into nothing. Lena's breath hitched. She could feel her knees trembling, the weight of the shadows pressing down. But a flicker of defiance sparked inside her. You don't know love. You know only darkness. Her voice cut through the air, choppy and strained, but bold enough to draw a line in this swirling maelstrom. With each pulse of her heart, memories rushed forth: Emma's giggles, Alex's sleepy smile. They were anchors in the storm. But Clara's laughter rang around her, a terrifying chorus urging her to surrender. You want to save them? Come to me, Lena. I can give you what life stole away. Lena felt the shadows tighten around her, sinking into her skin with icy claws. Their whispers became hisses, teasing her with visions of her children lost forever. Mommy, please, their voices begged from beyond the veil. No. Lena cried out. The knife trembled in her grip, igniting her spirit. I refuse to give in. She raised the knife again, the blade glinting under the chaotic flickers of light. The memories surged, a tidal wave of love. You are here with me, she shouted. You will always be here with me. The light exploded from the knife, pushing back against the shadows. In that blinding glow, Lena felt warmth radiate through her, wrapping around her like a comforting blanket. A moment's peace washed over her, calming the chaotic pulse of despair. But Clara screamed again, her voice trembling with rage, tearing through the fragile silence. You think this is a game? I will show you the true horror of your choice. With that, the shadows recoiled and then struck, surging forward with a force that sent Lena reeling. She stumbled back, the light flickering, wavering under the relentless assault. Each individual shadow began to morph, turning into twisted shapes of those she had lost: friends, family, faces she recognized and yet did not. Their hollow eyes stared at her, accusing, pleading, as if her love wasn't enough. Join us. They whispered. Join us in the darkness. Lena fell to the ground, heart racing, chest tightening with panic. The knife slipped from her fingers, landing just beyond her reach. Despair flooded her senses. Was this truly the end? Would they drag her into oblivion with them? No. She screamed, fighting against the despair. I am the light. You cannot control me. With fierce determination, she crawled toward the knife, her fingers grazing its cool surface. A shock jolted through her as she grasped it again, pouring every ounce of love into the blade. Rising to her feet, Lena felt a renewed strength surging through her veins. Clara shrieked, a cacophony of anger and fear, as Lena faced the swelling shadows head-on. You will not take them from me. I will fight for them, across every realm. And as she plunged the knife into the ground, the light erupted in a kaleidoscope of colors, wrapping around her like a protective shield while shadows fizzled and shrank back. But through the brilliance, Lena felt a shift, a darkness seeping in from the edges. A realization hit her, a crack in her armor, a growing worry gnawing at her heart. The shadows might not be defeated. They could be waiting for the moment when her resolve faltered. Lena. A voice broke through the chaos, clear and piercing. Help us. Was it Emma? Was it Alex? In this moment of choice, Lena stood teetering on a precipice of fear and love, a balance she didn't know she could maintain. Could she stand strong when the shadows were lurking, tightening their grip? Her heart pounded louder, drowning out everything else. Whatever came next could change everything. Would she crumble, or would she unleash an even greater wave of light to repel the encroaching darkness? The ground trembled beneath Lena's feet as the shadows recoiled, but a deeper, more primal fear gripped her heart. The laughter of Clara rang in her ears with a dissonant tone, smacking like thunder against her resolve. You can't protect them forever, Lena. The entity shrieked, each word dripping with wicked excitement. Their essence is drawn to me, and soon they will be mine. No. Lena shouted, desperation clawing at her throat. She felt the knife pulse against her palm, its metallic coolness now warm with the heat of her emotions. You will not take them. Alex and Emma's frightened faces flickered in her mind, their innocent smiles haunting her. Suddenly, the air around her thickened with whispered moans, the shadows forming into twisting shapes, figures of her lost past. Faces of family long gone shifted in the darkness, urging her to step into the gloom with them, yet she was determined to resist, to stand firm against the tide of despair. With a sudden, fierce determination, Lena lunged forward, knife raised high. You think your shadows can scare me? I know love beyond your darkness. I know the light of hope. With that declaration, she drove the knife into the floorboards. Light exploded from the blade, blinding and pure. The shadows recoiled, writhing in agony against the warmth that cascaded from Lena. She could feel them ripping at her resolve, still willing to seize her children, but each moment felt like empowerment. Each heartbeat ignited the flame of her spirit. Get away from my children. Lena bellowed as she felt the blazing power surge through her, reaching for the warmth of Alex and Emma. With each pulse of light, she ignited memories of love, laughter, and every moment she shared with them, weaving an unbreakable safety net. The shadows writhed and twisted, desperate to engulf her, but this time they were met with her fierce love. Leave them alone. She screamed again, feeling her strength heighten. The knife glowed with an intensity that transcended the darkness. In those glimmers, she saw her children smiling back at her, beckoning her onward. The shadows howled in fury, morphed into horrifying visages of her past, and twisted into wretched forms, but Lena stood her ground. Clara! She cried, the name bursting from her chest like a lioness defending her cubs. You are not my sister. You are a monster, and you will not take my family. With every ounce of strength, Lena thrust the knife deeper into the ground, and the surge of brilliant energy swallowed the insidious tide. The sheer power poured forth, causing the walls to shudder and the shadows to scream, dissolving against the radiant brilliance. And then clear silence. The echoes of despair faded away, leaving only the beating of her heart and the warm breath of her children beside her. The shadows retreated, crumbling like ashes swept away in the wind. Lena dared to glance around. Where Clara once stood was nothing but stillness and shadows gone. Mommy? Emma's voice trembled, pulling Lena from the trance of victory. Lena turned her gaze down to her children, who stared at her with wide, frightened eyes, still tightly woven against her. She knelt down, wrapping her arms around them, pulling them close. It's okay, sweetheart. We're safe now. Did we beat it? Alex whispered, looking up at her with a mix of loyalty and fear. Lena felt tears pricking at her eyes, a lump forming in her throat. Yes, we did. We beat the darkness together. The weight of the shadows that had clung to her heart lifted, a sigh of relief flowing through her. They stepped outside into the cool night air, the moon bathing Pine Hollow in silver rays, illuminating the world around them. The trees stood still and silent, like faithful sentinels keeping watch. Lena swept her children into her arms, holding them close. We're going to face every shadow together. I promise. And for the first time, Lena let the warm glow of hope seep in, knitting together the frayed edges of her heart. Pine Hollow remained a beautiful enigma, a place that would always hold its secrets and shadows. But the light within her would never flicker out again, not as long as she fought. Let us go home, she whispered, leading them hand in hand. As they stepped away from the shadowy echoes of the past, Lena knew their journey was far from over. But this time, she wasn't alone. There was strength in unity, in a mother's fierce love, and echoes of laughter that would guide their way. It was time for a new chapter, one where the shadows would no longer have power over them. And with each step they took, Lena could finally breathe, filling her lungs with air that was free of fear, a promise for brighter days ahead. Now, I need you to take action. Subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories waiting just for you. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help us reach more amazing people like you. Flood the comments section with your thoughts, reactions, and theories about this wild ending. We want to hear from you, and don't wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support makes a huge difference, and only true fans understand how vital it is to keep this community going. Let us do this.